to the Brigderton recap. Thank you for deciding that you wanted to not watch the first 2.5 seasons of a show, but you do want to know what's up before the second half of the 3rd season. It's a random move, but I can respect it, and that's why I'm here to help. So, part 1. History, because that's what you want in a TV show recap, a history lesson. King George III is the monarch at this time, and before him was King George II, and before him was King George I, so you'll never guess who's after him, King George IV. That's not relevant at all. I just think it's really silly how in British history there's 4 Georges in a row. For funsies. So he's monarch. He is the guy that you probably remember from like US history classes as being the person who was monarch when the United States rebelled. Yeah, basically he was monarch actually for like a really, really long time. Like he was monarch from 1760 to 1820, which is like a really long ass time. But notable things, he was monarch at like the end, kind of, whatever, the 7 Years' War, and obviously American independence, and kind of, well, definitely like the beginnings of the Napoleonic Wars, kind of the end of the Napoleonic Wars, kind of the War of 1812, although Brits don't care about that at all. You might be wondering, Allison, what do you mean by kind of? We're gonna take a Dora the Explorer approach to this, where I'm gonna ask you questions, and by you, I mean my phone, and then I will answer them. So, King George III is known as the Mad King because there was something wrong with him. I don't really remember what historians think it is, but I think it, it's one of those things where like he had something wrong with him, and he had a series of like episodes like throughout his life, but then starting in 1810, he is so nice for having nice decade, like 0 numbers for all of his major dates. It's wonderful, love it. But in 1810, he had another, like, some sort of episode, so he ended up not really being the monarch anymore, but he was still alive for the rest of his reign, the last 10 years. So they had his son, King George IV, be like Prince Regent, and basically he was now the monarch, but George was still alive. So it was this special time called the Regency era, which is like a 10-year-long period, but there's a lot of media about it because that's when Jane Austen lived. Jane Austen, she wrote Pride and Prejudice, Emma, Persuasion, another one, Sense and Sensibility. And so she wrote these books, and they're very famous. Now there's a bunch of other media that takes place at the same period because they're all kind of trying to copy, not copy, but like build upon the popularity of Jane Austen. For what do we live, guys? So one of those many pieces of like movies, TV show, books that takes place in the Regency era is Brigderton, which is why we're talking about any of this. Basically, during Brigderton, the king, oh my god, is, you know, he's not really like around, so it's like a thing. There's like the queen and stuff. Not actually that important. I don't know. We'll talk about the queen later, but yeah, basically that's the era we're in. Season 1 takes place in 1813, season 2 takes place in 1814, and season 3 takes place in 1815. That's the end of the history section, by the way. Okay, so section 2, the fam. The Brigdertons are in fact a family. They're not like a house or anything. I don't know. They're like a house in like the way that like the Starks in Game of Thrones are a house, not a house like, or like Downton Abbey. That is a house. It's a fancy house. It's a house though. But yeah, so they're a family. The eldest brother, and like, so like the family, whoever is like in charge of the family is a viscount. Oh, this was supposed to be during the historical context. So you have, you know, there's like the royal people, you know, the queens and princes and whatever. No one cares about them. But then like nobility isn't relevant to the show at all, but I feel like in the background of the show, some things make me feel like whoever's writing the show doesn't fully understand this in later seasons. But by later season, I mean season 2. But whatever. So okay, so at this time, like the fancy people in London are like all like the nobility and any rich people. They call it like the Ton, and there's like a season in the Ton where they all go and they have like their little balls and they got all dressy and stuff. But the people who pull up to stuff like this are highest ranked is like a duke who is married to a duchess, and you call those people your grace for some reason. And then there's a marquis and a marchioness. Didn't write it. Don't know how to spell it. I don't actually know how to spell most things, so all of this is guessing. Then we got a viscount and a viscountess. Yep. And like the Brigdertons, the brother during the show, but his father back before he died, is a viscount. And then there's like a barons, baronesses, and then just like rich, fancy people are at the bottom. And all of maybe a duke. No, because duke you call like your grace, but marquis to baron. If someone is like lord, fiddlesticks, that could be any of those ranks. So if like someone says like Lord Brigderton, that's appropriate. There's gonna be like a Lord Featherington, that's appropriate. But my point is that the Bridgertons are not very high ranked at all. Like, I mean, like, they're like ranked in society, you know, but they're not like high ranked. But like it's like a thing that the Ton is like really obsessed with them, and they seem like really special and stuff. And it's not really explained, so the only explanation possible is they're really, really rich. Like, really rich. Also, they're all supposed to be really beautiful, which is true. I can confirm that fact. But also, like, I don't know. They're not that high ranked, and it just, I don't know. I feel like people act like they're higher ranked than they are. I don't know. That doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is that, yep, this is how nobility works in England. Oh, I forgot to say it when I had it written up there, but like, England doesn't have counts. They have earls. Why? Why not? So, season 1 is Daphne's season. The show's like gimmick, we talked about its other gimmick, is that every season or every book, they're based on books, surprisingly, I know, is that like once per season, one of the family members falls in love. And they're really cool about that, you know, they like to take their time, space it out, give other family members a chance to shine, and then they're like, actually, now that you found love, now I'll find love. They don't like to hog each other's spotlight, you know? So the first season is Daphne. So Daphne, you're not gonna be able to see her in the video at all. Whatever. I'll continue using the pictures. I printed them all out. So Daphne is just the best. It's like a thing, that's what this picture is of, that all of the people that I just had listed out and like their families, when a woman is like comes of age, what age is that? Unclear. But when she comes of age, she goes and she like presents herself to the, well, her mom presents her to the queen, and walk up in their little fancy dresses, and they do a little curtsy, and the queen is like, cool. But Daphne is A, very, very pretty, and B, she's just like great. Like, she plays like piano forte and does her embroidery, and she's always like prim and proper, and she's just like, if you were going to make the best gal in 1813, you would end up with Daphne Brigderton. Yeah, so she's great. She's called like the diamond of the season, which is a thing that like future seasons, every season there'll be both like season as in like the season in the Ton, and like season as in like television. There'll be a diamond, and they're supposed to be the best gal. But so Daphne is the best, and she shows up. I was gonna keep this really brief because Daphne and her eventual husband aren't in season 3 at all, but whatever. This is me being brief, by the way. So Daphne pulls up and she's like, I'm the best person ever. And then shenanigans. She marries this dude, who is named the Duke. And you might be thinking, but Allison, surely he has a real name. Yeah, he does. His name is Simon, but like pretty consistently he's just called the Duke. The book that this is based on is called The Duke and I, so you can't tell. He's really handsome, so a lot of people thought he was gonna be really successful after the show, like after season 1, so then he didn't want to be in season 2. But he really hasn't been that successful. He was in an episode of SNL. It's a pretty funny episode. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It was cool. But yeah, so the Duke and Daphne, they get married. The only really notable thing that I think will come up again is that at one point the Duke and Daphne's eldest brother, Anthony, who we're about to talk about in a minute, he's the Viscount, by the way. The two of them have a duel. They don't end up shooting each other. They actually shoot at Daphne. It's a whole thing. But I think that, like, because, like, Simon, like, dishonored Daphne, and was refusing to marry her. It's a dramatic season, honestly. Check it out. But, yeah, so the two of them eventually get married, and then they, like, live happily ever after. And we never see her. Daphne's in, like, 12 scenes of season 2. Duke's in none of it. Neither of them are in any of season 3. So, oh my god. So who cares? Okay, moving on to the Viscount himself. Anthony Brigderton. So, in season 1, Anthony is like, he's what they like to call a rake, which is like a womanizer, slut, man, you know, kind of a guy who's like, I would never get married. Oh, also the Duke was that, but again, we don't care about him. You know, he's like, I'll never get married because I'm having my affair with my opera singer mistress. But his mom is like, but you're the Viscount. We need heirs, actually. It kind of seems like in season 1, his plan is just to have his brothers inherit and have their children inherit, and then he decides, no, I'm gonna find a woman. So season 2 starts out, and I wish that you could see this photo better, because this man has the craziest eyes ever. Like, Jonathan Bailey, I'm sure that he's delightful in other things. I've never seen him in anything else. But this man, oh, wait. Fixed it. All right, so this dude starts out in season 2, and he's just like, I will marry the best woman available. Like, no amount, but like, which is probably, you know, typical, but in like a very like meticulous, he just like broods for like 2 seasons, but not in like, not really like a sexy way. Other people might think it's in a sexy way. I don't think it's in a sexy way. I think it's in like a, how to describe it? Like he looks like he should sleep more, and so he's like just brooding because he's like really tired. Like he just spends it in 2 whole seasons just being like, yeah. But so he decides he's gonna marry this girl, and her name is Edwina, because she is the diamond of season 2. And he's like, yep, I'm gonna marry her because she's the best. But what he actually does instead is he marries her sister, Kate. And you might be thinking to yourself, but Allison, that feels, he was going to marry this one girl and then he married her sister? Yes. And it was really uncomfortable to watch, if I'm being honest, because the two of them have like a lot of sexual tension for an entire season. Not quite, yeah, it's for an entire season. But for most of the season, he's courting his sister. So he'll be like, yeah, Edwina, let's spend a life together. You're cool, Edwina. You're the best. And then like in the next scene, he'll be like helping Kate shoot a gun, and they'll be like inches away from each other's like faces and being just like breathing into each other, and it'll be just like this really like charged scene, and you'll just be like, what's happening right now? What you're like pretending to flirt with her sister. Why is this? I don't know. There are people who are really into them. I like them as a couple, just the fact that it was really uncomfortable to watch, if I'm being honest. It was just a lot of just like mostly every single scene the two of them were in together, I was like, I feel like y'all should have a room for yourself and we shouldn't be here. But they would just like be talking, but I would be like, but like other people are here, like other people are watching this, and they're like, yeah, he is flirting, is like courting her sister, but the two of them have like so much going on. Point is, the two of them are married. That's the point of this whole section. So yeah, but Anthony, he's the oldest, and he's now married to Kate, and he's trying to make an heir. Yeah. I'm not gonna dramatically throw them because I might actually I doubt I'll put them up again, but we'll see. Actually, I might in like 28 seconds. Not 20, it won't be 28 seconds. Soon. Okay, so season 3 is about Colin. I'm using this, so like I said, like everyone falls in love with one. I'm actually not gonna really talk about season 3 right now. It's more of, I have it formatted like that just to keep with the flow of talking about the other siblings with their season. But yeah, Colin's the protagonist of season 3. He's cool, I guess. Basically, he wants to travel, like in season 1, he's like, I really want to travel the world. And then between season 1 and season 2, he travels the world, and he comes back in season 2, and he's like, you know, like a 4-year exchange student who was like, I spent the summer in Barcelona. It was wonderful. He went to Greece. Yeah, but he just talks about Greece like all the time, and everyone's like, dude, shut up. Nobody cares about Greece. But yeah, this is actually a picture of him from season 1, when he's supposed to be a child. So then 2 years later, 4 years in real people time, and a lot of traveling. And he looks like this. Again, the fact that you can't really see this, basically, he has like fancier hair and like a really chiseled jawline, and he wears like unbuttoned shirts so you can like see a little bit of his chest hair, and he wears like a pirate coat because he's all like traveled, and he comes back and he's like flirting with all the gals, and he's like, wow, you're so beautiful, any man would want you. Yeah, basically he went from like a sweet boy to like, I don't know, a flirty man. I don't really like him that much in season 3, if I'm being honest, but again, we're not actually talking about season 3 right now, so we'll circle back to my thoughts on the first half of the season at a later time, to be determined. So we've talked about 3 Bridgertons, like the people who've been the protagonists for seasons. But the thing that I was going to talk about before I started all of this, but then I accidentally didn't, is that the parents were fun and fresh with their naming. So in age order, they are Anthony Benedict, Colin, beautiful handwriting, Daphne, Eloise, Francesca. I'm really regretting writing all of this, especially in this manner. Hyacinth, which I don't think I spelled that right, but whatever. Point is that there's 8 of them, and they're all supposed to be very attractive, but the younger 2 are like children. There's gonna be 8 seasons apparently, so that's fun. But yeah, it's gone. Daphne, Anthony, Colin, and then who will be next? Benedict for season 4, maybe. I don't know. So Benedict, basically, some things about him. People think that he's bi. Why? Oh well, rhyming. But people think that he's bi because he paints, and he can't just be like just gay, because he sleeps with a lot of women. But yeah, he's really into painting, and you know, he has like some second son energy where he's like, I'm not like the Viscount, I don't have all that responsibility. I can kind of do whatever I want. So he just like paints and stuff. But yeah, he'll probably be season 4. Maybe. I don't know. We'll talk about what he's up to season 3. Basically, for most of the family members have like a character that they interact with in season 4. So we'll talk about what they interact with in season 3. So we'll talk about like what they're doing in season 3 when we get to the side characters. Okay, Eloise. So Eloise is the 5th oldest. Basically, she's a feminist. In season 2, she got in trouble for like talking to like political radicals. You know, she's like, I don't want to just like marry a man and have my husband control me and stuff. A lot of people think that she's gay too, because she doesn't want to just marry a man and have her husband control her. And I'm really conflicted because, like, on the one hand, I want one of them to be gay. There's 8 of them. But on the other hand, you know, it's a little bit iffy if your storyline is like, yeah, the only one of them who's like against just settling down and marrying a rich man is a lesbian, because then like you know, there's other reasons to not just want to, like, have your entire role be getting married. Like, your only purpose in society is to get married and have children. That's bad. Women should be more than that. So saying that that wouldn't be the only reason she feels that way if she's gay, but it kind of comes off that way, that it's like, oh, you know, you only don't want to have a man make all of your decisions because you don't like men, which, like, no, I just, like, want to exist to make my own decisions for myself. But again, it would be cool if she's gay because she's really cool. Also, her actress is really cool. Her name is Claudia Jessie. She's, like, vegan. And she's really into sustainability and stuff. And she's really funny. I've seen a lot of cast interviews for all of the people, and she's really cool. In, like, a few of the cast interviews, she wears, like, a sweater vest. So I now own a sweater vest. I went thrifting for it because I have lots of just really into the show. But yeah, if you might be thinking to yourself, but she couldn't be gay, they're all based on books, and surely she marries a man in the books, to which I will say, have you read the books? I haven't. Are they even real? Have you ever seen one of these books in real life? Do you know the name of her book? I actually do. But is it actually real? But yeah, so that's Eloise. Next up is Francesca. There are people on the internet who have decided that Francesca is some sort of neurodivergent, because she's, like, pretty fixated on pianoforte, and she, like, I don't know, she gets really overwhelmed in, like, rooms where there's a lot of people and there's a lot of sound and stuff, and she's kind of doesn't want anybody, like, looking at her and stuff. She's, like, pretty introverted. So maybe I would call myself wildly unqualified to make that decision, but, like, you know, it's just, like, there are people who are, like, I think that some people personally benefit from being able to see themselves in Francesca, and that's cool. I think Francesca is cool. Her actress, so obviously Francesca, you can't, it's far away, but it's, like, super beautiful. Her actress, fun fact, when she was 16, she started modeling, and you might be like, oh, that makes sense because she's really pretty, but she started modeling because she needed more money to pay for all of her dance lessons, because she was so into dancing. And you might be like, wow, some people were just better than us, actually. She was really into ballet, so then she started modeling to pay for her ballet. Wow. But yeah, Francesca, she's cool. Oh, also, if you've seen any of season 1 or season 2 and you're like, that person looks nothing like Francesca from season 1 to season 2, they recasted her. Apparently the original actress had, like, a scheduling conflict or something. So yeah, I don't have a picture of the original actress. I believe her name is Ruby Stokes, maybe. But yeah, and we have Hannah Dodd. She's really delightful. Seen a lot of interviews with her, believe it or not. Okay, the mom. You see that? Maybe? Okay. That says Violet. This is the mom. Her name is Violet. Also, I realize this is, I'm like keep moving my face. This whole video, probably the sound, will probably vary drastically, and hopefully you'll be able to hear anything I'm saying. But, so Violet is the mother, and she's basically, she married the dad when she was 18. Not according. There's a prequel show about Queen Charlotte when she's falling in love with your bestie from the beginning, King George III, and it's like a whole thing that they're falling in love, and basically, I was gonna talk about it later, but I guess we'll just talk about it now. Like, the only two notable things that I think might ever come up again, one of them probably never will come up, is that this one woman, Lady Danbury, who we'll talk about her later, she hooks up with Violet's dad, like all the main characters' grandfather. They're not married. It's highly scandalous. They have a little affair. It's a whole thing. But yeah, I don't think that actually will be brought up again, but I just was watching it, I was like, whoa. What? Also, I don't, like, my main concern of that is that she was still, like, of an age where she could have children, and this was, like, 1700, so, like, it would have been really scandalous if she had, like, gotten pregnant, and she was recently widowed. But yeah, but the other main thing is that, because it's mostly, like, the prequel show is mostly a prequel, obviously, but then there's also some scenes that take place, like, between seasons 2 and season 3, where they're, like, you know, where it's, like, Violet and the Queen and the aforementioned Lady Danbury, and they're, like, chit-chatting and stuff, and in it, Violet talks about how she's like, maybe I could, like, be back on the market, find myself a new man, because her husband died, like, 10 years before season 2, so, like, 11 years before season 3, so she's like, you know, maybe I could, like, find a new man, and yeah, will she find a new man? I don't know, it's a TV show about, like, love, so who's to say? I'm just saying, yes, but we'll get there. Oh my god, we're at like 38 minutes right now. I'm so sorry if anybody actually watches this and they're like, why did she talk for such a long time? She also, because, you know, it's not even like I'm like I'm just up here rambling. I don't have any editing software, so this is one take, as Damien Chazelle would have intended. Who's the guy? What movie is that? Where it looks like it's all one take. 1917. Or it's all one shot. I have no idea. But yeah, so this is all just rolling, just going. And I had notes, but my laptop has timed out, so mostly we're just going from whatever's up here. All of this stuff is up here, so you know, there was a you know, whew, continuing on. Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about Gregory and Hyacinth. They're like kids. I feel like it'll be self-explanatory when they come up on the screen. It'll be like, oh, there are children who live in this house. Yeah. Okay, now to actually talk about what's been happening in season 3. So I was deciding whether or not I was going to write down the board. So there's this woman named Lady Whistledown. And basically what she does is she writes little like gossip articles. And this is actually the main gimmick of the show. If it's like Gossip Girl, you know, XOXO, but it's Lady Whistledown. And she writes these like scandalous things. It's like all the people in the town, who people were like flirting with, if she like hears anything interesting, you know? And it's a whole thing. And the main notable things that she's done is in season 1, there's this one character named Marina, and she is, you find out that she's actually pregnant, and she like came to the season pregnant, and she's trying to find a man because she's pregnant, and she's unmarried, and it's 1813, so she's like, what am I gonna do? I will marry someone. So then she ends up, this is, you know, it's not good of her to have done, but basically the aforementioned Colin, she's like, hey man, we should get married. And Colin is like, you are so beautiful, I will absolutely marry you. But you know, it's not Colin's season, so he can't get married. So he, okay, so he, so then like news breaks that, you know, like news gets out that actually she's pregnant, and Colin is like, wow, like I thought I loved you. If you had just told me like what was up, I would have tried to help you because like I loved you. And it's like this like really like heartbreaking story where she's like, yeah, like I didn't want to like trick you or like trying to trap you in like a marriage, you know, when I was actually pregnant, but like what else was I going to do, you know? So it's like, it's really sad. And then I'm going into detail about this because I want this to be brought up in the second half of season 3, and we'll talk about why in like 2 seconds. But I will riot if this whole thing isn't brought up. But like the news breaks, and she's like so upset that she like, because obviously Colin called off the wedding because he's like, I can't marry you now that you've like kept this whole secret from me. And she's like so upset. So then she's like, I'm going to try and get rid of my child via like terrible tea. And then she like almost dies by drinking this tea. But obviously that doesn't work because like, you know, that's not how abortions generally work. But yeah, so and it's like super, super terrible. You know, she almost dies, and like both the Brigdertons, and because Marina is staying with the Featheringtons, who we'll talk about really, really soon, but like both families are like ruined, and it's like a whole thing. And you're like, wow, Lady Whistledown, it sucks that you like shared this like personal information with everybody, like all about, like this wasn't any of your business. Why did you tell everybody all this information? That's not cool. Also, Lady Whistledown, how'd you even get any of this information? That was a really good segue, but just really briefly, also in season 2, Eloise was meeting with all the political radicals, and Lady Whistledown wrote about it, and it was like a whole thing. Families, like the Brigdertons also, like were almost like canceled out of all society. I wonder if that'll happen in season 3. Will there be something that the Brigdertons are like shunned for it? I don't know, but yeah, so she there's like they all find out, and they're like, oh my god, Eloise, hang out with political radicals, that's really uncool. And it's like, wow, how did people find out that like personal secret about Eloise? Penelope Featherington. So she is Eloise's best friend. The Brigdertons are here, and the Featheringtons are across the road. So she's like grown up. She's always been hanging out with the Brigdertons. But yeah, so she's Lady Whistledown. You find that out, spoilers, but this whole thing is spoilers. You find that out at the end of season 1, that she's Lady Whistledown. And that's how she knew to write about Marina. Because you might be like, but why would she ruin a poor young lady who lives with her family? She's like, they're cousins. And that's because she has a crush on Colin. And she has a crush on this man. So then she's like, I will ruin his fiance. You know? I will... Like, it ended up working out for Marina. Like, she ended up kind of... It's, like, a very happy show. So she ends up, like, marrying the brother of the father of her child. And it's like, oh, that's wonderful. But, like, realistically, that's, like, pretty surprising that that happened. Like, it, you know, in most scenarios, Marina, like, this whole thing breaks and she ends up, like, a destitute woman on the streets because she, like, had this child out of wedlock. And flippin' Penn ruined her entire life. And yeah, like, but, like, she shouldn't have trapped Colin in marriage. But I feel like she and Colin would have had a completely great marriage. Like, they get along well. Like, I feel like they would have been... I would feel like they would have had a good life together. You could have raised your kid. But Penn was jealous. So then she wrote all about it, ruined her life. And then, in season 2, she's like, Eloise, don't hang out with political radicals. Even though you should hang out with political radicals. It's like 1814. There's so many, like, wrong things with politics. You should be trying to change it. And Eloise is trying to change it. Penn's like, no, you're being risky. So I'm going to write all about what you're doing. And Lady Whistledown, I'm going to ruin you and I'm going to ruin your family so that you'll stop doing it. And I think that's really mean to Penn. That's not cool. So point is, then Eloise finds out, that's the whole end of season 2. Eloise finds out that Penn is Lady Whistledown and she's done all these terrible things. And Eloise is like, holy crap, we are no longer friends. Like, we were besties and no more. We're done. So that's the main thing with Eloise. I guess I was gonna put Eloise, I'm not gonna put Eloise back up here, but like Eloise and Penn used to be friends, but now they're not anymore because Penn is actually a bitch. I'm sorry, Penn. Side tangent, this is Nicola Coughlan. Fun fact, Coughlan has 1 C at the beginning, none at the rest. It's Irish. Flippin' Irish. Sorry, this was supposed to be a positive thing. But Nicola Coughlan plays Penelope. I don't like Penelope, but I think Nicola Coughlan is like, I think she's wonderful. She plays Penelope really well. Also, you can't see it in this picture, but like she has like a ceasefire pin on that she's worn to like all of the promotional stuff for the season. And that's really cool of her. Also, she's in Dairy Girls, and the thing is in Brigderton, she's like supposed to be like a protagonist. We're supposed to like her. In Dairy Girls, she's supposed to be annoying as shit, and I like her so much more. You should watch Dairy Girls. Dairy Girls is like really, really funny. It's really great. Yeah, great show. Is it better than Brigderton? Yes. Yeah, but Penelope, she's like not the best, but she's Lady Whistledown. Oh yeah, so season 3, the whole thing. We're back to just talking about Penn. So the whole thing, it's the two of them falling in love because, you know, they were like friends growing up and stuff. And now they're realizing they actually are in love with each other. And, this man, at one point, like, he, like, proposes to Penelope. This is, like, right at the end of, this is, like, episode 4. So, well, okay. So, basically what happens is, Penelope asks Colin if Colin can help her get a man, because she's like, I can't live with my family anymore. So then Colin is like, yeah, I will help you, because we're friends. So then Colin, like, teaches her how to flirt and stuff, and then people find out about that. So then Pen, having to not seem suspicious, and she says this, she's like, it would be suspicious if Lady Whistledown didn't write about it. But yeah, so she writes about how how Colin is helping her find a man. So then it's like, oh, I've ruined myself, I'll never get a man now because everyone knows this horrible secret about me. So then she, yeah, so then she, lost my train of thought. So then, she and Colin are talking, and she's like, hey Colin, can you kiss me? Because it's like really funny exchange. She's like, Penelope is like, I could die tomorrow. And Colin's like, you won't die tomorrow. And she was like, and it would kill me if I'd never been kissed. And Colin is like, but you would already be dead. Thank you, Colin. But she's like, it would kill me to die having never been kissed. So then two of them kiss, and you see immediately Colin's like, oh now. Oh my. So then in like the second 2 episodes of the third and fourth episodes of season 3, Penelope is talking to this man. This is Lord Debling. He's vegan. He's really into the planet, and he's trying to save the Great Auk. Don't Google if he succeeds. Believe in him. This is an alternative history. I meant to say that at the beginning when I was talking about historical context. Yeah, so basically, it's a lot more diverse than actual, actual Regency era. Like, they give an explanation for it in, like, the prequel Queen Charlotte version, but basically, they're just, like, the important thing is, it's kind of like, why couldn't it be more diverse? Like, I mean, none of these people are real. Like, the Queen is real, but, like, none of the rest of them are real, so, like, who cares? None of their costumes even pretend to be historically accurate, so, like, whatever. So, yeah. But Lord Debling, he's really into, like, the environment, but he and Pen, they're, like, talking, and in episode 4, he's like, Penelope, will you marry me, please? And Penelope is like, well, she's like about to ask, and then Colin shows up, and he's like, Penelope, you can't marry Lord Debling, you don't know him well enough, and he's a flippin' weirdo because he only eats vegetables, and we as an audience are like, we love that vegan king. But Colin doesn't love the vegan king. So Colin breaks, like, they're dancing, and he, like, breaks the 2 of them up. And he's like, Penelope, you can't marry him. So then Penelope leaves, and then, like, Lord Debling, like, kind of storms off. And Penelope catches up to him, and she's like, Lord Debling, you're gonna ask me to marry you. And Lord Debling's like, I can't do that because you're so obviously, you and Colin are obviously in love with each other. So then, so he's like, so I'm not gonna ask you to marry me. And Penelope's, like, heartbroken, and she goes to leave in her carriage, and Colin chases her down, and he gets in the carriage, and he's like, Penelope, I actually love you, you know, I dream about you all the time. And Penelope is like, a different person would have organized this better, because I'm realizing this is, like, the very last scene of episode 4. So this would have been, like, a really good, like, ending of the video, but we're not done. I'm so sorry, everyone. We barely started talking about season 3. So, oh my god. So then, so like he's like, I love you, you know, and Penelope's like, I love you too. And then they're alone in a carriage, ... And then they go to get out of the carriage, and Colin's like, I mean, we're gonna get married now, right? Because like, yeah. So that's how episode 4 ends, but not this video. Yeah. I was debating leaving Pen up there, taking her down. So, is Eloise gay? Maybe. Is she gay for this chick, Cressida? Also, maybe. And by maybe, I mean probably not. I've seen a lot of cast interviews, and if the two of them are going to become a couple, the actors don't know. But people on the internet really are very optimistic. So point is that, so Cressida is like, in seasons 1 and 2, she's like a mean girl. Like she like kind of like competes with Daphne in season 1, and then in season 2 she's like out there being mean to people and stuff. So then season 3 rolls around, and Eloise is friends with her, and we're like, Eloise, we get it, like, Pen, you know, you had like your friend break up with Penelope, but like, be friends with Cressida? Low blow. But then like, it gets into it, and they have really good chemistry. Like Jessica Madsen and Claudia Jessie, like they've done a bunch of interviews together, and Jessica Madsen plays Cressida, Claudia Jessie plays Eloise, and like, you know, they're like, yeah, we had such a fun time like shooting all our scenes together, and they're like buds now, and it's like, that makes sense, because like your scenes, like you seem like you get along in all of your scenes, but yeah, they so yeah, people think that they're gay. Eloise is like pretty like high strung, and she can kind of just say whatever she wants to Penelope, and Penelope's just like, but like now she's kind of like, she and Cressida kind of like balance each other out, you know? It's like a little bit like, and like she makes Cressida a little nicer, and Cressida kind of acknowledges the fact that Eloise is also a little bit mean. There are people who, you're getting my very biased view of the Eloise and Penelope breakup, like friendship breakup. There are a lot of people who are like, fuck Eloise, she's the problem. And to those people I say, I like Eloise, so she's not the problem. But yeah, so, but like she and Cressida have like a really cool dynamic, and they're friends. But Cressida is also trying to marry Lord Devlin, so like for like them, episode 4 ends with Lord Devlin and Cressida, like Cressida and Eloise were chatting, and then Lord Devlin is like available, and Cressida is like, oh, Eloise, peace, I'm gonna go hang out with Lord Devlin. And Eloise like looks so heartbroken, and you're like, oh, Eloise, you're so in love with Cressida, and we know it, and we're so sorry that she's off talking to this man. God, I just really hope that they're not gonna be a couple. Like, no shot, but I just think that they would be really cute. I think they have really good chemistry. But yeah, so that's what Eloise is up to this season. She's being friends with Cressida, and she's not being friends with Pen. So Benedict, this is gonna be really fast. Let's see how fast I could do really fast. So Benedict is hooking up with this woman named Lady Tilly this season, She's like a badass. She's a widow, and she's into engineering. And Benedict is like, wow, that's really hot, actually. And yeah, that's his entire plot this season, thus far. That was fast. We're getting into like the shorter stuff, so kind of moving towards wrapping it up eventually, maybe. So this season, Francesca is the diamond of the season. So season 1, let's recap. Season 1 was Daphne, ended up with the Duke. Oh my gosh, I forgot to mention this. So season 1, the Queen wanted Daphne to marry this Prussian prince. Like the Queen set them up, and then that didn't work out because Daphne married the Duke. And then in season 2, the Queen wants Edwina, the new diamond, to marry Anthony Brigderton, and that doesn't work out because he ends up married to her sister. And then season 3, the new diamond, Francesca, the Queen wants her to marry this like Marquis, who's kind of ugly. Like, I don't know. He wants her to marry this Marquis, but Francesca doesn't really, mostly, so Francesca's like really like quiet and soft-spoken. I spoke about this earlier. And she's like, yeah, you know, I kind of want like a quiet home when I grow up. And Marquis is like, I want 8 children. And so to have a really bustling house. And I think it's an interesting like contrast of like, you know, saying things and having it, whether or not it's like attractive. Like, so in season 1, the prince, the aforementioned like prince who the Queen set up with Daphne, is talking to Daphne, and he's like, I want a lot of children because I want like a really like lively house and stuff because I always grew up with that. He's like, I think that'd be so great. And Daphne's like, wow, we like connect so well because I want that too. And so it's like this like thing that it's like, wow, he's like really like into his family and stuff. And she's like, that's so attractive of him. But then in season 3, this man is like, I want 8 children. And Francesca's like, oh my God. She's like, I would hate having that many children. That would be such a loud house. I would hate it so much. So instead, she's got a thing going on with this man, whose name is Lord Kilmartin. His name is John, but basically they meet each other at a party, and they're like outside because they're both like, I was really overwhelmed by all of the people and the noise in that room. And they're like, wow, I was also overwhelmed by that huge crowd. And it's like, oh. And then like later, she's walking through the street with her mother, and she runs into him, and he's like, oh, there's nice music playing. And Francesca's like, actually, I think that this music should be in 3/4 instead of 4/4, I assume. I don't actually know anything about music. And to be honest, the person who wrote that scene, I don't know if they know anything about music either. But maybe they do. If you know anything about music, let me know if like, basically she says that it should be changed to 3/4 instead of whatever it was in, so that it'll be like slower. And so then at the end of the season, he gives her new sheet music, and she's like, oh my God, this is music. This was that song that we were listening to, but it's rearranged the way that I thought would sound really good. And it's like, oh my God, that's such a cute gesture of him, that like he went, and he doesn't really seem like he's that into music, so presumably maybe he rearranged it himself. I don't know. Either he rearranged it or he got someone to rearrange it, but he like took this music that she thought could be improved upon, and then he did it. And it's like, wow, that's so adorable. And Francesca is like, wow, Lord Kilmartin. Wait. Ring, please. Yeah, I think they're a really cute couple, actually. I'm a huge fan of them. Yeah. You might be thinking, but only one of them is allowed to fall in love per season. How could this season isn't based on Francesca's book. It's not even a little bit. If you want spoilers for the book in future seasons, let me know. I think the two of them are going to get married this season, and yep. I've totally forgot what I was doing next. Okay, back to Violet. Fun fact, I actually don't like Violet. For no reason. I think she's done actually nothing wrong. I'm just not into her. She's just kind of annoying all the time. I feel like someone watching this video is like, Allison, you've talked for like 10 minutes and it doesn't even seem like you like any of the characters. That's not true. I like Eloise and her whole thing, and I really like Francesca and her whole thing. And Anthony is funny. And Benedict doesn't have a lot going on, if I'm being honest. But I think that he's cool. Yep. And that's why I make really long videos about this show, because I love it so much. Alright, so Violet, out there trying to get a man. Her friend, Lady Danbury, who also slept with Violet's mom, but Violet doesn't actually know that. But she is like, so the two of them are besties, and then who should come to town? Lady Danbury's brother. Lady Danbury doesn't seem to like her brother at all. This isn't like Lady Danbury setting him up with Violet. I think that it's a quinky dink. And yeah. So yeah, will Violet find love? Almost definitely. With this man. Yeah, Lady Danbury's brother. So Violet and Lady Danbury, it'll be a thing that Violet will be like, yeah, I've slept with your brother, but it's fine because you slept with my dad, and that's just how good of friends we are. Yeah, I think that I'm so shocked that they had Lady Danbury sleep with Violet's dad. I don't think I'll ever get over that. It's just whatever. Last thing. So this is the Featheringtons. The father is like cut off here because he's dead by season 3, so I don't care about him. But yeah, they're the Featheringtons. Is the mom Portia. There are 2 sisters, and their names are Prudence and Philippa. I actually don't know which one is which. But this one is really, really dumb, but also the actress, fun fact, dates the actor who plays Benedict, you know, the painter guy. Also, she's really into Legend of Zelda. And I think that's a fun fact for you. A few fun facts for you, matey. A few fun facts for you. Yeah. So it's a whole thing. Then in season 1, they have the dad, and then he dies at the end of season 1 due to shenanigans. I'm realizing I'm missing a paper. I guess I will just... There's actually one more thing after this, but it'll be brief. And I don't even have a picture for it, because the pictures have been so helpful for this video. But, so season 2, there's like new Lord Featherington, Jack, and he comes to town, and he has like ruby mines in Georgia. And you might be thinking to yourself, I didn't know Georgia was known for its ruby mines. It's not. He's a con man. So at the end of the season, they steal all of Portia. She's a girl boss. I love Portia. She steals all of his money and is like, you have to leave town now. So they but she she forges a document where basically he says his new heir will be whoever the son of one of her daughters, who's like the first one of the daughters to have a son. That son will inherit like the Lord of Featherington and like the house and everything, which is cool. So the whole thing in this season, it like these two women, they're both married to like pretty dumb men, honestly, but like they keep being like the mom, every time she sees them, she's like, when's the last time you slept with your husband? Gotta get on that. Yeah, but they both think that they're pregnant. It's like not even that relevant. I probably could have just not mentioned it, but I just think it's really funny. I actually really, really love the Featheringtons. It's like a whole thing that Penn is like, I hate my family so much and my mom's so mean. And yeah, they're mean to Penn, but I also don't like Penn and I love them. So I'm team Portia. Oh my gosh, this poor girl gets bullied by her family and I'm like, I agree with the family. I think maybe I shouldn't just talk for like an hour. I feel like this is getting increasingly more just like rambly. I feel like I started out with a purpose. But here we go. Continuing on. So yeah, that's their whole storyline, is that they're just like, they're trying to have a son, and it's talked about so much, and I love it so much. But last thing, so there's like these two people, and I wish I had a picture of them, but I feel like it'll become obvious pretty early on into the second half of season 3. But like in season 1, it's like a married couple. In season 1, the guy is a boxer, and then like the end of season 1, he makes enough money that he can buy like a club. So he's like, I can retire from boxing and I have this club. And then like his whole storyline in season 2 is, but he's introduced into the show because he's friends with the Duke. Because like the Duke, he's like a bad boy, so he hangs out with like lower class people, as opposed to all the richy people. But he, yeah, so, but the Duke isn't in any of the other seasons, so this dude is just still in the show. He's not in the books at all, but so then like season 2, the whole storyline with him is he's trying to like build up his club, you know? But then I feel like the writers of the show were like, you know, Will and his wife, who has a name, presumably, we really like them and their actors seem really cool. So what we want them to be, you know, like be able to go to all the fancy parties with all the other people, but they're like random, like not fancy people. You know, why would they be invited to all the parties? And so then the writers were like, hear me out. The wife is a distant cousin of this one, like, lord, and the lord doesn't have any children, so then their son, because it, you know, inheritance, it has to be a son, inherits this fancy estate. So now the two of them are parents to this new lord. So now they get to go to all the fancy parties in season 3. And like the writers were just like, whatever, we want them to go to the fancy parties, so we're gonna make them go to the fancy parties. So then, so yeah, so like the whole thing in season 3 is everyone's like, hey man, like you can't be running this club. And by like club, it's basically just a bar, but they call it like a club. It's like a gentleman's club. But like, they're like, you can't be running a bar and being like a fancy person going all the fancy fancy balls. But, so you have to give up the club, which is so crazy because they spent all of season 2 getting the club, and now in season 3 they're like immediately like, gotta get rid of all of that, man. Good job getting it, gotta get rid of it. But yeah, with that triumphant end, that's the whole recap of the first 2.5 seasons of Brigderton. Hope you enjoy the second half of season 3. I'm really excited, as you probably can tell. yeah.